Hello. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is my first video, so just bear with me, I'm still figuring things out. For my first video, I put a lot of thought into it and I was a bit unsure about like what I wanted to do. Should I do like an introductory kind of thing? I don't know. But I settled on just talking about some of the books that I read already this year and then some of the books that I'm wanting to read. First I want to talk about some of the books that I've already read this year, just so you can get a kind of feel for like what I read and what kind of stuff I like and what to expect. So the first book that I want to talk about is actually the first book that I finished reading this year, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Schwab. The first thing I want to say is how beautiful is this? If you take the dust cover off, it has this really stunning rose gold imprint on it. Onto the inside of the book. So this book follows the story of a girl named Addie LaRue who grew up in somewhere in France in like 1714, I think it is, and she's quite free-spirited and she gets herself into a situation that she doesn't want to be in, so she makes a deal with, I think it's the devil, I don't know, he's never called the devil, but I kind of feel like that's kind of who he is. But she makes a deal with him and she makes a deal for freedom so that she can live her life completely freely and kind of do whatever she wants. Unfortunately, that comes with the downside of being forgotten, so everyone that she meets forgets who she is as soon as they walk away or turn away from her or stop talking to her. They forget who she is. So she lives like 300 years and then we move forward to current day where she's living, I think she's in New York, and she's like traveled the world and she's had an amazing life, and she meets someone who does remember who she is and it changes everything. And that's basically a summary of it. I'm not going to spoil it too much because other things do happen. I really enjoyed this book and I'm really surprised that I enjoyed it, because when I first heard that it was coming out, I heard that it was a romance novel. I'm a big fan of Victoria Schwab. I hate romance novels. I really don't like them, I'm not a fan of them. I just find them a bit boring, to be honest, but this one really hit the nail on the head. It did so well and I really enjoyed it, and I think because it had like a little bit of magic mystery kind of thing like sprinkled through it, I think that's what really helped me. But I loved it, it's so special, it made me cry. I cried like a baby when I finished it. I love Addie so much, she's such an amazing character. She's definitely one of those people that I think will stick around in your mind. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 on my Goodreads because it was just so good and I was so surprised by it. I think it would have been a 4 out of 5 if I'd known that I was gonna like it, but because I was so apprehensive, I was like, I'm not gonna enjoy it, and then it just knocked out of the park and it was so good. So 5 out of 5 for my first read of the year. So the next book that I want to talk about is the second book in a series. I don't know if he's gonna write another one, I'm not sure. After this one I kind of hope not. That is none other than Ready Player 2 by Ernest, Cline. I have so many feelings about this. So if you don't know, this is Ready Player 1. This one follows the story of a character called Reid who lives in like a futuristic dystopian America where the world has basically become consumed by technology and consumed by this gaming platform known as the Oasis. So it's basically this virtual reality platform that everyone uses for everything. They use it to talk to friends, they use it to exercise, they use it for school, they use it for everything. James Halliday, the creator of the Oasis, left an Easter egg hunt when he died, and the winner of the Easter egg hunt, who could find the Easter eggs that he left within the game, got the rights to the Oasis and his fortune that he left behind. I really enjoyed this book. I loved it. I read it initially ages ago. I have the paperback somewhere on my shelf, but I picked up this super cute limited edition one. But I really enjoyed it. I really liked the first one. I thought it was amazing. The writing was just so cool. I loved how there was like a combination of 80s trivia references and like modern day technology. I just thought it was so cool. It was a really cool like juxtaposition. Is that the right word? I don't know. but I really, really enjoyed it. I could sing its praises forever. Then we get to this one. I just didn't like it. I was so disappointed by like everything, and it's really difficult for me because I really, really love the first one. I love the characters, I love the world. I just really, really liked the first one, and this one just did not live up to the hype. It didn't live up to the first one. I think the main problem in this was the pace. If you don't know, this one, there's another manhunt where they're searching for shards. There's 7 shards. They need to find all the shards. It's very that. But we spent like a good portion of the book, like I'm gonna say at least a third, searching for 2, and then it seemed like the other, like another 3 or 4 were found within the space of like 3 chapters. So it was really off in the sense that they spent so long trying to find just 1 or 2, and then bam 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 they managed to find all of them. It kind of came across like this one did so well that he wanted to write another one. And I know that sounds brutal and I know that sounds horrible, but that's how it came across reading it. I just didn't enjoy it. I was so disappointed because I loved the first one so much, and the first one has such a special place in my heart, and this one just tanked for me. I still gave it 3 out of 5 stars because the series has such a special place in my heart. That's probably quite generous. It's probably a 2-star, but can do that to my boy Wade. So it got a 3. Not ideal. If you've read the first one, I wouldn't be rushing to pick this one up, but let's just say that. So the next book I want to talk about did live up to the hype. This was a book that really surprised me. It's a book that I don't physically have because I read it on my phone, but that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this book was one of those ones that I had heard so much about it. I had heard so many people talking about Daisy Jones and the Six, and so many people talking about Malibu Rising, which is her new book, and so many people talking about this one, and so many people just loving it. I was not one of those people. I was like, doesn't excite me, I'm not really interested, contemporary fiction is not my type of book, not for me. Boy, was I wrong. I loved this so much. There was just something so like enticing about it, so I just didn't want to put it down. In short, it was amazing and I loved it. So basically what this one is about is it's kind of like a contemporary fiction. We follow alongside a journalist by the name of Monique Grant, who's kind of struggling in her job. Like, she wants to come up in the world, but she's not really being given the opportunities to come up in the world of journalism. She took a job for this big magazine. They don't really let her write. One day the magazine is approached by the famous movie star Evelyn Hugo, who has decided that at the age of 79 she wants to give an interview. She wants to do like a photo shoot, all that sort of thing. Everyone's super excited because she doesn't offer interviews, photo shoots, anything. She kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. So when Monique is selected, the magazine reluctantly lets her go to do this interview, and it turns out that Evelyn has no interest in doing this interview. She really wants Monique to write her biography and tell her story. It's loosely based, I think, on Elizabeth Taylor and all of her marriages, and this kind of, you know, glamorous movie star that everyone loves. As I said before, I loved this book. I thought it was so good. It was so well written. For something that didn't have like a high concept fantasy, it really kept me intrigued, which I was super surprised about. And the twist at the end, oh my god, it was so good. So good. I think I literally loved it so much. I gave it 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. Maybe a 4 out of 5, maybe. But when I first finished it, I was like, 5 out of 5, it's amazing. Absolutely adored it. So the last book that I want to talk about, of the ones that I've read, is one that I finished quite recently actually. I can't remember, it was like last week before, and that is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This book came out in 2018, I think, and basically it's like a YA kind of murder mystery. So we follow along with Stevie Bell, who is a Sherlock Holmes type crime buff. She loves mystery, she loves true crime, all that sort of thing. She gets selected to attend the Ellingham Academy in Vermont, which is a fully funded private academy for gifted students. It was built by Albert Ellingham, who was a really wealthy 20th century tycoon, who basically bought this plot of land in the middle of nowhere up a massive mountain, was like, I'm putting my house there, and then was like, I'm gonna build a school. He always saw learning as a game, and he wanted to create a unique learning experience where students could learn what they wanted, when they wanted, and how they wanted. About a year after the school was opened and students started coming in, Albert's wife and daughter were kidnapped and held at ransom. So there was this big mystery. What I loved about the book was it went back to that time when all this was happening, so it wasn't just you finding it out through Stevie's perspective, which I really liked because I felt like that could have got old really quickly. So his wife and daughter are kidnapped and held at ransom. His wife was found dead and his daughter was never found. There was another girl as well who was a student on the campus who was also found dead, and it was never solved. We now come back to Stevie, who is attending Ellingham Academy. Each student has to like choose a project that they want to work on. Stevie's project is solving the murder. Now that you have a feel for what it's about, I adored this book. I thought it was so good. I love a good murder mystery. I love something that I can like sink my teeth into and question and try and figure out. It definitely kept me guessing a lot. I thought that the little hint drops throughout it were really, really good. They weren't too close together or too far apart. They were just like, as soon as you were starting to get a feel for something, they dropped in something else and you were like, this changes everything. So on that side of things, it was really, really good. My problem with it comes from the ending. So if you don't know, this is the first book in a series. I think there's 3 out at the moment, and then there's 1 coming out this year. But the ending is a cliffhanger, but it's like 3 cliffhangers. There was a few things that were left sort of left on a cliffhanger, left undiscovered. So I feel like there could have been a reveal for one of them, because it was quite overwhelming having so many unanswered things and you're just a bit like, huh? I was literally 2:30 in the morning when I finished this book, and I remember sitting there and literally saying, what the fuck? Because I was so mad at it. I was like, I need to know what happens. I need to know. It's definitely a good marketing thing because I know so many people will have read the next one. But there was a year between books, so I feel sorry for all the people that read it when it first came out and then had to wait a year for answers, because that's brutal. And that leads on really nicely into books that I want to read this year, because at the very top of my list for books I want to read this year is the second one, and that is The Vanishing Stair, also by Maureen Johnson. So this one came out in I think 2019, so it's still a couple years old. I think she's just been doing it every single year. But this is the second installment in the series. Like I said before, there are 3 books out at the moment. There's 1 coming out this year, and I want to be fully caught up, which is why this is on the top of my list. I don't know when the 4th one's coming out. Should probably double check, but it's coming out this year. So yeah, the second one is one that I want to read once I finish the Shadow and Bone series that I'm reading at the moment. I will probably get to it. We have a Netflix adaptation coming out for that, so kind of need to get caught up on that before that comes out. I really hope we get some resolution in this one. I'm not necessarily saying that the whole thing has to be solved. I just want some answers, because if I have to wait another book before I get some answers, I think I'm gonna get very bored with it. Not gonna lie. And yeah, I'm excited to see more of Stevie and David because I think their relationship is so funny. I just love the two of them. I think they're so cute. And I can't wait to see more of them because I just love them. So that's the first one. The next book on my list of books that I want to read this year is a book that I have had sitting on my shelf for like a year. It's probably one that you've seen because there's been quite a lot of hype for it recently, but that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I'm sorry if it's not. I really am, but I'm not sure. So this one is a fantasy novel. You don't really get much info on the back of it other than a witch and a witch hunter are thrust into holy matrimony. So that can only end well. But very fantasy. I think it's got enemies to lovers trope in it, which would make sense. I know that it's about a witch who flees from her coven to live like a magicless life, and she kind of becomes entwined with someone who is a witch hunter. So I'm very intrigued. Does he know? Is she hiding it from him? I just need to know. I know Blood and Honey came out last year, and then there's a third one coming out this year as well. So again, this is another series that I really want to be caught up on by the time the third one comes out. So very excited to read that one. The next book on my list is one that you've probably seen so much of. It is one that's been getting so much attention online recently. That is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. First of all, look at this book. The cover art is insane, and then if you take the sleeve off, this is what it looks like without the sleeve. Again, it's got the little moon on the front. It's so beautiful. I love it so much. And then when you open it up to the inside, your end pages have that same picture. It does also have a map in it as well. It has the map of Crescent City again, which I love because I can't really visualize things in my head when I read, so having maps in books really helps me and gives me a better idea of the world and what's going on. So yeah, this is one that I want to read, not because it's got so much hype, but because it sounds so intriguing. So if you don't know, Sarah J. Maas is the author of the Throne of Glass series and also the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I have not read the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I honestly don't know if I will. It's not my type of thing. And I think there's been so much hype around it that I'm not sure it can live up to that. Like, it gets to a point where something is so overhyped that it could just never live up to it. So I'm not sure if I'll ever read it. But I have read the first Throne of Glass book. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel that much motivation to read the next one, but I enjoyed it and I might pick it back up at some point. But the storyline of this really intrigues me. So this is high fantasy mixed with urban fantasy. We have angels, demons, all of that good stuff. Our main character, Bryce Quinlan, is half fae, half human, which again, I love. So excited. She basically lives the perfect life until her friends are murdered. I know, super fun. So her friends get murdered and it sort of throws her into a realization of, you know, the deep dark of where she actually lives. She decides to start investigating. She teams up, I think, with an angel, and they kind of investigate and get thrown into the deep dark underbelly of Crescent City. It is a massive book. I think it's like 800 pages, thereabouts, so it's huge. I have a fear of big books. I don't tend to read big books because they scare me, but I don't honestly think there's any way I couldn't love this, so hopefully I'll get through it. I might do a reading vlog for this one just because it is so long, so it would be nice to kind of live react to it. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I will be doing reading vlogs, but yeah, I might do the first one for this one because I think I'm going to really enjoy it. And yeah. So that brings me to the last book that I'm going to talk about today on my list of things to read. Like I said, the list is never ending, it's enormous, but these are just the ones that are kind of towards the top end of that list, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. First of all, again, with the beautiful books today, I mean, look at this detail, it's so pretty. So this one is a West African folklore inspired high fantasy. Everything about that makes my heart sing. I love the idea of that. I love the idea of like high fantasy princes and princesses with West African folklore. Like, come on, it's amazing. So I'm super excited. I know that this one involves a princess whose mother is killed, and then she kind of teams up with a refugee, and they go on like this unlikely adventure, I suppose is the word. I think it has enemies to lovers in it as well. I don't know, I think it does. This is this author's debut novel, so this one came out last year in 2020, and I know it's got really, really rave reviews. I know that there's a lot of people who are excited for the next one, which comes out this year. Again, a series that I have to keep up with. So A Psalm of Storms and Silence is the second one. It comes out this year. I know that it's going to be a duology, so once that one comes out, that is it for this series. One thing that I do want to say that I loved about this one is if you open it up on the inside, on one side you have this map, which again, love me a map, I think it's really pretty, but then on the other side here you have an author's note. And basically what the author's note says is it gives you a rundown of some of the content of the book. So she talks about the fact that there is murder, loss, anxiety. She basically gives you a pre-warning of what's to come in the book, which I think is so important, and I wish more authors did it. This is the first book that I've come across that physically does it in the book. I've seen reviews online and I've seen like people talking about it that have given me a pre-warning, but this is the first book that I've seen that actually has it in the book, and I think that it's so important. There are some books that I have read that I've really been loving, and then they chuck in something like that that's super dark and super unexpected, and you're just a bit like awestruck because it's come out of nowhere. Sometimes it can ruin a reading experience as well, because you have to take yourself out of that to recenter yourself and hype yourself up to get back into that kind of dark content. So a pre-warning about that one. Really happy that it's said in the book. I think that more authors should, I think all authors should do that. And yeah, super excited to read this one. So that is it. That is everything I have to talk about today. Like I said, I'm still working things out, so I want to be uploading once a week. We'll see how it goes. No promises at the moment, but I will get there. And yeah, if you like this video, then you can leave a like or a comment or subscribe if you want to. That would also be really cool. And let me know what type of videos that you want to see more of. I am on Instagram at Kira the Bibliophile if you want to follow. I post pictures of books. I talk about books. The same kind of thing. Over on there as well, and I'll be posting updates about what I'm reading more frequently than I will here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so excited to be starting out doing this. It's something that I've wanted to do for ages, so the fact that I'm actually sitting down and doing it is kind of crazy, but yeah, hopefully I will see you again soon.